She never imagined that Arnold, the crown prince himself, could be so gentle. He personally slipped the ring onto her finger, his eyes filled with unmistakable tenderness. That night, Leisha had invited Arnold to watch the fireflies together. What she didn't expect was that he would suddenly catch her. The distance wasn't far at all. Leisha could have easily leapt across on her own. Held in his arms, she felt both shy and confused. Arnold lowered his voice and explained that he'd only reacted instinctively, afraid she might get hurt. Once his words faded, the air between them grew quiet, heavy with unspoken emotion. They stood there in silence until Arnold slowly loosened his grip. That was when Leisha noticed the sword scattered on the ground and felt a flicker of confusion. She couldn't understand why Arnold would even carry weapons just to step out onto the balcony. Arnold explained that he had mistaken a faint glow in the distance for the light of torches. When Leisha looked more closely, she realized the light truly did resemble the fire scene on a battlefield. In that moment, she understood. The memories of war were already carved deep into this man's very bones. As Leisha looked at Arnold, her thoughts drifted. When she softly complimented his eyes, he showed no sign of happiness. Instead, he turned away and began speaking about his past. The color of his eyes was exactly the same as his father's, a symbol of the imperial bloodline. But he had never liked them. As a child, he had even thought countless times about tearing them out himself. To him, those eyes were never something worthy of admiration. When Leisha had first arrived in this country, she had spoken about her excitement and hopes for it. Arnold, however, admitted bluntly that he had never liked this nation. Everything those eyes had witnessed only filled him with disgust. In his mind, the country was just as ugly as the eyes he despised. Leisha didn't know what Arnold had been through, but her heart ached for him. She told him that whether a distant light was the flames of war or the glow of fireflies could only be known by seeing it clearly with one's own eyes. This country, too, had its beautiful side. If one was willing to look for it, it could surely be found. Arnold responded coldly. He said he didn't need beautiful things. As long as he could achieve his goals, he would use any means necessary. What he said next left Leisha completely stunned. Arnold calmly admitted that he had once killed the person most important to him with his own hands. Even Leisha herself, if she ever became an obstacle, would be discarded without hesitation. He then brought up the matter of the Northern Kingdom. Though he didn't know Leisha's true intentions, he warned her with unmistakable killing intent not to force him to eliminate her himself. Leisha, however, showed no fear. She said she would continue moving forward toward her goal no matter what. Even if Arnold ultimately cast her aside, she would accept it. And even if she were abandoned, she would find a way to return to his side. She could infiltrate the castle as a maid, disguise herself as a man and join his night order, or even become an apothecary. No matter how many attempts it took, no matter what method she had to use, she would see him again. Hearing this declaration, so close to a confession, Arnold was visibly shaken. The next day, Leisha met with Kyle, the prince of the Northern Kingdom. In order to persuade Arnold, the two of them had prepared thoroughly. Still, Kyle felt uneasy, worried that their plan might fail. On the day of the official meeting, Leisha was present as well. Arnold got straight to the point. If the Northern Kingdom wanted an alliance, it had to demonstrate sufficient value. Leisha then asked Arnold to take a closer look at her. With just one glance, he noticed something unusual. Every accessory she wore was brand new items she had never worn before. They were all crafts produced by the Northern Kingdom. Kyle explained that the North was rich not only in gold and gemstones, but also in highly skilled artisans. Even designs other nations struggled to produce could be completed quickly, with both precision and stability. Arnold remained expressionless. After exchanging a glance with Kyle, Leisha took out a pocket watch. At first, Arnold thought it was the one he had given her, but he quickly realized it was different. The watch on the table was a replica, crafted by Northern artisans. Moreover, they were capable of mass-producing such items. If gear mechanisms and spring technology were further developed, Leisha explained, it might one day be possible to create carriages that didn't require horses, or ships that could sail without wind. In the near future, things that sounded like fantasy could become reality. Leisha was certain Arnold would be moved, yet he remained calm. He acknowledged that such advanced technology was indeed tempting, but precisely because of that, he said, taking everything by force through war would lead to the same result. He called Kyle naive. Kyle, however, believed that Arnold would eventually choose to control this technology himself, because he was a truly capable ruler, and the very conversation they were having was proof of that. Just as the tension hung delicately in the air, Theod suddenly appeared. He exchanged a glance with Leisha, a prearranged emergency signal. Leisha immediately excused herself, saying she needed to step away for a moment. In truth, she had been secretly using the second prince's people to monitor Professor Michelle's movements. This time, however, the agents tracking him had been drugged, and Michelle's whereabouts were completely lost. Back in the room, Kyle was about to continue his report when Arnold calmly interrupted him and summoned his night order. Elsewhere, Theod was puzzled. Despite being the second prince and barging into a critical meeting, Arnold showed no displeasure at all. Soon after, the second prince's subordinates located Michelle. When Leisha finally found him, she was shocked to see him tightly surrounded by knights, being treated as a criminal. It turned out that in order to reveal the existence of gunpowder to the world, Michelle had already planted explosives throughout the town. He had even submitted a written declaration to the knights, stating that he would launch the attack at 6 in the evening. Only by doing so, he believed, would his research be taken seriously. Even if it meant being convicted, he had no regrets. What Michelle didn't know was that Leisha had already secretly replaced all the explosives. When she saw the second prince's hand signal, she knew the plan was complete. All that remained was for Michelle to witness the outcome himself. At that moment, the church bells rang on schedule. Fireworks bloomed across the sky, massive and dazzling. Everyone, including Michelle, was stunned by the sudden sight. Leisha told her teacher that even if one studied poison, as long as the intention was to bring happiness, it could become something that delivered hope. To help Michelle understand this, Leisha had made meticulous meticulous preparations, purchasing materials from the Northern Prince, arranging covert surveillance through the Second Prince, and drawing on her knowledge of Michelle from her third life, all for the sake of showing him another possible path. He had once said that to deny a line of research, one must present results strong enough to refute it. Now, he finally realized that he himself could create something just as beautiful. Seeing the change in his expression, Lisha knew he had been completely convinced. Just then, Count Rovain suddenly appeared. He walked straight up to Michelle. The knights guarding him all answered to Rovain. Rovain had also learned that Michelle had voluntarily submitted a confession of his crime. In his view, any threat to the Empire's security could not be overlooked. Even if the Second Prince ordered otherwise, he insisted on handling the matter according to the law. The situation reached a stalemate. Just as everyone was at a loss, Arnold's voice rang out from behind them. To everyone's surprise, he stepped in to protect Lisha and the others. Arnold stated that the fireworks were not a criminal act, but rather a demonstration of the Northern Kingdom's latest technology by the scholar Michelle. Rovain was left speechless. He questioned why a foreign scholar would present his work in their country. Arnold's response was even more shocking. The Empire was about to sign an alliance with the Northern Kingdom and begin formal technological exchange. Even Lisha hadn't expected Arnold to make such a promise in this way. Only after the Count left did Arnold tell her the truth. He had already noticed Michelle's plan and was aware of Lisha's maneuvering behind the scenes. He had simply chosen to go along with it. Though he had intended to punish Michelle, he ultimately found himself completely outplayed by Lisha. A few days later, the Northern delegation prepared to return home. Kyle offered Lisha his sincere thanks, and Michelle decided to leave with them. Before parting, Michelle said to her, "Goodbye, my beloved student." The words moved Lisha deeply, because in her third life, he had said, "Farewell, my student." Just one word different, yet an entirely different ending. Like fireworks and explosives, happiness and tragedy are separated by a single thought. Several days after the Northern Kingdom's departure, Lisha sought out Arnold once more. Taking a deep breath, she gathered her courage and spoke her feelings aloud. Then she took out the ring. It was a gift Arnold had given her, and she had never opened it on her own after it was finished. She wanted to see the completed piece together with him. Arnold suddenly interrupted her. He said she didn't actually need to wear the ring. Her heart sank instantly. Suppressing her unease, she asked why. Arnold replied that he had no right to hope for such things. Even if it was a ring he had given her, she didn't need to force herself to wear it. Hearing this, Lisha immediately rejected him. She told Arnold that in her country, a wedding ring must be worn when one gets married. Even she dreamed of such a moment. Arnold didn't argue. He simply picked up the ring, took Lisha's hand, and led her to a nearby chair. In the next instant, Arnold knelt on one knee, never letting go of her hand, and carefully slipped the ring onto her finger.